We're now with Information Technology Service. Keith, if you could introduce yourself and your colleagues and then make whatever presentation you'd like to make.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Those who are with me are Margaret Keck, our Assistant Director of Communication and Infrastructure Services. Got Mary Newton, our Division Manager for Strategy and Planning, and other members of my executive team in the audience. I'd also like to recognize the Metro 3 technical staff who are here broadcasting the event and making sure the public is hearing and seeing what we're saying. And in the room,
doing a great job. No one, it's seamless. No one notices that they're here, and they're just performing highly professionally.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate that. We've got Michael Rear, Chris Singleton, David Harpsmeyer, David Haney, and Cass George. So in 2013, information technology continues to be a key enabler of the services that our citizens demand. As such, the ITS department takes great pride in providing service to virtually all of the 50-plus metro departments and agencies. In the coming year, we anticipate a continued focus on providing networking and telephone services for Metro's construction projects, enhancing our information security program, and continuing to maintain and develop the core IT infrastructure work and enterprise software that is our primary focus. With regard to ITS operating budget scenario, I'll discuss our budget in two sections, as there are actually two accounting funds that make up ITS's financials. The 2% reduction scenarios requested amount to just under $284,000 reduction for the ITS Special Fund and $33,000 for the ITS General Fund, which includes Metro 3, the PEG Studio Management staff, and our Business Solutions area. As the ITS team and I approach this proposal, or these proposals, we focus on the department's strategic priorities, which are, number one, maintaining a reliable core infrastructure. Number two, ensuring recoverability of data and services. Number three, ensuring data integrity and security. Number four, reducing costs. And number five, improving services to customers. With these in mind, after checking and examining every service offering provided by ITS, we prioritized and found a number of opportunities for savings. For the ITS Special Fund first, we will not offer any filled positions for FY14 in reaching our goal. We are offering one unfilled SR10 position by taking it to part-time from a full-time position. Then we also have been able to find various cuts to expenses that are no longer required, including some pretty big reductions after replacing our aging storage area network infrastructure. So basically, there's only one FTE impacted there. We are also proposing in our ITS Special Fund area a number of improvement requests. First, we have discussed with the mayor previously a Metro public wireless internet project for Metro facilities. In order to successfully and reliably provide this expansion of ITS services to Metro departments, we will ask for an operating improvement of about $348,000 to cover staffing and bandwidth expenses. That's exclusive of the capital portion of it that I'll mention a little bit later on. I'd also ask you to consider a request for non-discretionary and discretionary improvements. In this context, non-discretionary budget items are contract obligations, including as a variety of hardware maintenance and software support increases. It's important to note that these are not for ITS-only systems. These expenses relate directly to increases contractually obligated by Metro that are used as infrastructure components for Metro departments, and neglecting to fund them could cause interruption or loss of service for critical systems across the government. These contractual obligations continue to rise per their contracts and will amount to an increased total of $480,000 for fiscal 14. And the one final operating budget item of note is the discrepancy between our request for revenue and expenses. Since the bulk of ITS is accounted for by an internal service fund, we have a reserve fund that we typically, per finance, maintain 60 to 90 days worth of operating capital. Last year, this reserve fund had excess funds available, so with finance's approval, we reduced our fiscal 13 budget for revenue and effectively paid for almost $1 million of revenue from the reserve. Per finance, this is a completely normal and appropriate use of these funds, and with the benefit last year of lowering departmental bills across the board. Since these funds were removed from revenue last year, this year we're recommending they be restored to bring us back in line where we would have been. So to shift now from our special fund component to the general fund, we have a 2% reduction scenario that amounts to $33,000. And upon examination of services provided, I propose to convert a single Metro 3 employee from a full-time position to a part-time position. That is a filled slot. The obvious downside is that it very negatively impacts a Metro employee, but it could also decrease the service that we're able to provide departments in filming special projects. So that concludes my remarks regarding the operating budget, and I'd like to turn for a moment to ITS's capital budget submission. Going back to the ITS strategic values that I mentioned earlier, I've categorized our requests according to those values. First, in order to maintain a reliable core infrastructure, we have a typical number of projects relating to replacing end-of-life equipment, such as servers, PCs, network equipment, telephone equipment, and Metro's primary firewalls. In this vein, I'd also ask for $3 million to update the soon-to-be end-of-life EBS system, which is used by everyone, all departments and agencies within Metro, to manage our financials and our human resource systems. Our second category is ensuring data security, and there are a number of projects there to enhance existing security and to allow us to more quickly respond to security issues with further staff, including our vulnerability management system. And finally, in the arena of improving services, we are asking for funds to offer additional development opportunities for Nashville.gov beyond the Nashville.gov components that rolled out this year, and to fund the public wireless for Metro facilities project that I mentioned a little bit earlier. Finally, in the capital area, we have a request for Metro construction-related costs that aren't directly related to projects. Our direct capital for networking and telecom equipment have been included with general services capital requests for construction. So to wrap things up, the effects of reduction we propose will eliminate no services to our customers or our citizens. And I'd also ask that you include the non-discretionary improvements to our budget, along with the budget recovery request resulting from last year's use of the ITS Reserve Fund. And as always, we look forward to another year supporting Metro departments and agencies and the constituents that they serve.
Thank you. Well, one of your most recent achievements has been entering into a new agreement with Comcast.
Yes.
And my understanding of the way the agreement works, that under the first year, you all receive $300,000
for PEG support,
for
correct.
PEG support, and then thereafter $200,000.
That is correct.
Yeah, and what will those funds be used for?
So under this new agreement, those are to be used for exclusively capital purposes. The $200,000 actually extends for the term of the contract, which is 10 years. And you may or may not be aware, but the PEG Studio and Metro 3 have basically been without much serious capital improvement in 10 years or more. So what we've got are situations where we have aging equipment, standard definition equipment, which is becoming increasingly difficult to find standard definition television equipment. So the plans that have been developed by the Metro 3 staff, the PEG Studio staff, and NECAT management include updating the equipment pretty much wholesale over the course of the next 3 or 4 years, which is the length of the capital plan we've got developed, which will include purchasing equipment that enables us to do high definition television, which obviously if you have that, you can scale it back to standard definition, which is still out there. We don't anticipate flipping the switch to HD anytime soon. There are actually some provisions within the contract that Comcast has to reach a certain level, and we have to reach certain levels in our live programming, but we anticipate within 4 or 5 years we will be there.
Good, good. And then this year also, the the new Nashville.gov website went up, and how, I think it looks very good, but what's been the reaction and how's that going?
We've had excellent reaction from it. We're actually working with additional departments and agencies who have not been a part of Nashville.gov in the past to come on to it, particularly that we're working with the Sheriff's Department right now. The Arts Commission came recently. We have received great feedback from the public. Not everything is perfect, but we have worked through some minor issues that we've had. And we actually received some really good local and national attention around our responsive design, which means you design something, and no matter what size web page you are looking at, whether it's a computer monitor or a phone, it automatically scales to fit that. So we've been very pleased with the feedback that we've gotten. And there are additional features that we're looking to add in the coming months as well.
One of the things that, as a city, both I think mainly in the private sector, but it clearly I think would have an effect on your department, is there's been a sort of a broad recognition that in Middle Tennessee, and I guess the two most affected counties are Davidson and Williamson County, that healthcare companies, IT companies, at any given time have somewhere between 800 and 1,000 open IT positions. And when you're involved in economic development and recruiting companies to expand or to relocate in Davidson County, and I guess Williamson County too, one of the issues that we constantly confront is that if you're bringing a company in, they want to have the IT workforce there. And have you seen challenges in terms of your own hiring and available workers, and how do you deal with that?
Well, we have seen that issue for about the last 3 years. Last year when I gave this report, I think we had 19 open positions out, which is about 15% of our entire workforce. And the way we've had to accommodate that is we continue to work with HR to fill those through the normal routes. We actually, within the past year, have brought on our own internal HR person as opposed to using the central HR shop, just to have that added oomph. And then we, in a lot of cases, are forced to resort to finding contract help to fill that slot using salary savings until we can actually find someone in that position. It is difficult, especially in certain disciplines. We've got one position that we've literally found a person through a contract twice and a full-time hire once. And before we can get them in the door, they have taken another position with a higher pay elsewhere. So it is something we continue to battle. So I really appreciate the efforts of the National Technology Council and you to help bring our workforce up to the level we need. I will also say, and that some studies I've read recently, including one of the Wall Street Journal last week, speaks to the lack of training that we are able to provide to our own staff to enable them to come up to the level where we're able to move people internally within our departments. Since we have been cutting staff through these budget reductions over the past 6 or 7 years, we have very few positions that are true entry-level positions, where in the past you could take someone with a specialty of one sort and move them into an entry-level somewhere else. We don't have those entry-level positions. So if we're looking for an engineer, a networking engineer, for instance, we need someone who can come in and make a difference day one. Not that we don't provide any opportunities for people to move internally. They're just much more limited than we would like them to be.
And then you mentioned the Wi-Fi program, that in terms of making Metro Wireless more available.
Yes.
And you would see that as being phased in as over a couple of phases?
We do. Right now there is wireless at just a couple of sites for the public to use that is provided by Metro, primarily here at the courthouse. Our first phase that we are looking at in order to provide would provide public free internet via Wi-Fi to citizens in and around metro facilities. We are working with Tommy Lynch as parks are a key part of that, and there are about 30 different parks facilities that we have targeted as part of this first phase. And we're talking about facilities such as buildings. We're not talking out in the middle of a golf course, but community centers, regional community centers, historic sites, we're interested in providing those, as well as a first phase where we have metro facilities that provide service to the constituents, such as the public service campus at the Fulton campus, county clerks locations around metro, and a few other facilities like that. This first phase is entirely attuned to providing those services in and around metro facilities and making the citizen be able to conduct business easier while they are at those facilities. In the future, we may be coming back and adding expansions to that, to tourist areas, but that's not part of this initial outlay.
Phase.
That's
okay.
right.
Good. Well, that seems like a great idea to me and something that we definitely need. Have you been working at all with talking to schools in terms of cooperation on IT services and potential cost savings that could be achieved in that area?
We've not begun formal conversations based on the email that we received from a couple of council members a week or so ago, right. But we keep in contact with the school system. We're actively working with them on a project around a time and attendance system that will be done in a collaborative method with them, and we do anticipate talking with them in the next few weeks in order to respond to the requests from the council members.
Okay. And you all did something I'm interested in that we do out of this office, our after-school programming. You all, with schools and others, did a fantastic job of setting up an attendance and record-keeping system for that, which is, I think the after-school programming is a really valuable thing for the city. We need more of it, and you guys have been a big help, and I certainly appreciate that.
Well, thank you. NASA, we're really proud of the work we did on NASA, and the national attention it's gotten has been great, and we're glad to be a part of it. Thank you.
Rich?
Just follow back up on the question with IT in schools. I think we agreed on moving forward on the time and attendance with Cronus, I think, is the vendor, and that seems to be moving pretty well, and schools is working well. And I think that in the months to come, weeks to come, I think we just need to push that issue as much as we can to see what kind of areas we can find to stop duplication and try to save money. I mean, obviously, it's been an issue that members of the council have brought up. Obviously, we're concerned about it when we look at the overall budgets. So I would just urge you to continue to take a role in pushing that and see what we can do to save some money.
Absolutely. I met with Fred Carr last week, got a list of projects that are of high concern to them, and there is considerable overlap between things that they have in their planning and that we plan on doing as well. So that I do think there are opportunities.
Good.
Greg? No questions. All right. Well, thank you for a very reasoned presentation, and we'll review it and do the best we can. And I certainly appreciate your great leadership and the great work your department does, and Channel 3 here. Thank you.
Thank you.